Hello everyone, this is Barbara Howard and welcome to my podcast. If this is the first time you're listening, I want to welcome you and I hope that you will comment and subscribe. And if you are a regular subscribed listener, I want to welcome you back and thank you so much for your support. Let me say this up front because I always forget. My website is authorbarbarahoward.com. And you can find my books on Amazon and Barnes & Noble and Walmart and all over the place. I do have it's a collection, two short stories that are being released March the 1st. Cup of Secrets and Trace of Lace. So you can pre-order that on Amazon. I'm only putting it out on Amazon right now in ebook format for 99 cents. So there you have it. I have a new book coming out in October, but I have not released the title yet. I'll give you more information about that probably in the next episode. So, what am I going to talk about today? My hobby of quilting. For those of you who follow me, I'm basically on Instagram on a regular basis, not that much on Facebook, and very little on Twitter these days, but I do pop in on Twitter from time to time. I have a TikTok account, but I don't do anything over there. I just follow everybody and comment. But anyway, if you follow me on Instagram, every now and then I'll mention my joy of quilting. I learned how to sew during 2020 by binge watching all of the Missouri Star Quilt Company tutorials by Jenny Doan. I watched them back to back. It gave me something to focus on when everything was going crazy and we were shutting things down all over the United States. So I learned how to sew and I learned how to quilt. And this month, I decided I wanted to go ahead and create another quilt to give as a gift. And lo and behold, they were offering a special on a pattern on, I don't want to get into the technicalities of it, but it's applique, which means you apply the fabric on top of fabric. And also piecework, where you sew the bits and pieces together like a patchwork. So it was a combination of the two. I thought this looks like it's going to be a bit challenging, which would be good. It would keep me busy, keep my mind occupied, and teach me a new technique. So let me look at this. And it featured the story in a pictogram of Sacagawea. Sacagawea, Native American or First Nations woman who was the guide for the Lewis and Clark expedition west. And so I read a little bit about her story as they had written it for the pattern of fabric that they were selling and the images that went along with it. And I started to put it in my cart to purchase it. And then I thought, is this really her story? Is this really her story? Or is this the commercialized version, the whitewashed history? Is this the politically correct? If this is the desensitized version, is this the sanitized version? Like, is this really her story? I'm not sure. So that sent me in a deep dive of research online and checking sources and vetting sources and comparing versions of her story. And of course, there are lots of books out there about Sacagawea. And I thought to myself, this is fabric, Barb. You're making a quilt. And all of a sudden, you're going on this history lesson on Sacagawea and Lewis and Clark and all of that whole process. And it made me sit back and think about how that is just part of life. Like, after you become a woman of a certain age, is what I call myself, you always find yourself in the process of tearing down things that you were once taught as fact, which actually turned out to be fiction. You have to be comfortable with the demolition of the way you used to believe things were, or what you were taught, or the images that were put before you. And some of that's based on new information that was hidden and now is being revealed. And also is this part of the revelation of you're looking through someone else's lens. And someone very wise said this week that your experiences determine your opinions. And so your opinions can be flawed. And so a lot of what we're taught is based on opinion and not necessarily fact. It's not the fault of the person who's teaching you or expressing this to you. It's just their opinion. And it's up to you now to go back and determine whether it's of value or not. So anyway, that little trip through the Sacagawea fabric pattern made me think about how much of life is a process of tearing down and rebuilding. We're constantly in the process of tearing down and rebuilding. And we have to be comfortable with that. It's just part of life. It's just part of the process. It's inevitable. It's just the consequence of being alive that we're constantly tearing down and rebuilding. And what does that got to do with writing? The editing process. The dreaded editing process. Some people hate it. I don't hate editing. I actually kind of look forward to it because I feel like I've already gotten the body of work done, and now it's just making it pretty. Now it's making it better. Now it's improving. But it can cause some anxiety for some people because you are taking in commentary and critiques and feedback from different people, and you're trying to decide how much of this is valid. Am I changing the voice? If I change this portion of the chapter, how is this impacting how I want it to sound versus what they expect it to sound like, instead of putting it in their words? I want to keep it in my words, so it can cause some anxiety. So I'm not belittling that, but I want to make sure that we understand that rewriting is just part of that tearing down and rebuilding, because it means that we are learning and increasing in style and technique. And I've also talked to authors who found their previous work or work that they wrote back when they were in school or when they were younger, and they cringe at how poorly it was written or how amateurish it sounds. And I think the opposite. I think that your previous work should be displayed in prominence, because it shows that you started. It shows that you are evolving. It shows that you never stopped. You didn't quit. So you should be proud of your novice self. You should be proud of her. You should be proud of that old work. You should be proud of every place where you stumbled, because it meant at that spot you learned and you continued along the way. So I never bought the pattern. I chose something else because I found something easier to do. But it did teach me to always look deeply at something and find a way to apply it to the rest of my life, and how that life lesson can be found in almost anything. So that's what I wanted to share with you today. I hope that you are well. Again, my website is authorbarbarahoward.com. I have to remember to say that. You can pre-order my book, A Couple Secrets and Trace of Lace, over on Amazon. And I will talk to you again real soon. Thank you so much.